Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at a whole stack of sources, really. We've got a big Wikipedia overview of reggae genres, a bit from a really interesting YouTube discussion, and we're diving deep into the vibrant, ever-changing world of reggae music. Our mission for you is to explore how this incredible sound, grew out of earlier Jamaican rhythms, how it branched out into all these different styles, and then how it started fusing with other music around the globe. We'll uncover some surprising connections and some powerful cultural impacts, too.
Yeah, it's a story that's honestly way richer and more complex than people often realize. I mean, everyone knows Bob Marley, right? And knows reggae went global. But the roots, they run so deep, from local folk music all the way to this international phenomenon. And we'll get into how its rhythms, the whole sound system culture, it didn't just make a genre, it profoundly influenced others. Like, it even played a key role in sparking hip-hop.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. Let's start at the very beginning, the foundations, the pre-reggae stuff. We need to go way back to Mento. That's the authentic Jamaican folk music. And what's fascinating is where it comes from. Traditions from West African slaves, basically, mixing with European influences like the quadrille dance. Mento really had its moment in the 1950s. Artists like Louise Bennett, Harry Belafonte, though, yeah, sometimes people mix it up with calypso from Trinidad. And it wasn't just music, though. It was like the sound of Jamaica's new Creole identity emerging. Really laid the groundwork.
That blend was crucial, absolutely. It set the stage. So from Mento, you get ska emerging. This is the 1950s, right around Jamaica's independence. Musicians in Jamaica were listening to loads of American R&B, jazz stuff coming over the radio, absorbing it all. And the result, ska. You know it instantly, those energetic, choppy chords on the offbeat. The upstroke, it's got this upbeat, danceable feel, usually has blight horns, piano, bass, drums. Ska wasn't just like a sound, it was the sound in Jamaica in the early to mid-60s, paved the way directly for rocksteady and reggae. And like you said, many big names, Bob Marley and the Wailers included, started out as ska bands.
Yeah, you can really hear that American R&B connection, can't you? Our YouTube source mentioned artists like Fats Domino, and it talked about music drifting from a sort of half-blues style, like a more relaxed swing feel, even before ska really locked in its sound. So there's constant give and take. Jamaican artists taking global sounds and just making them completely their own thing.
Exactly, and that constant evolution, that leads us to rocksteady. Around 1966, a lot of ska musicians, they started to slow things down, deliberately, looking for a cooler beat maybe, more refined. And that slower tempo, it created more space in music, which was perfect for vocal harmony groups. The Gay Labs, Toots and the Maytals, the Heftones, they really shone in that style. The YouTube source put it well, just noting a different feel for rocksteady. It wasn't just speed, it was the groove, the whole mood shifted.
Right, and building right on that, on rocksteady, around 68, we get into early reggae. And here you start hearing a deeper groove developing. There's a definite influence from American funk, big Stax records, that kind of thing. That slightly slower pace from rocksteady actually gave musicians more room to play around. The rhythm section could stretch out more.
And that space, it allowed for some really defining musical things to happen. You get the bubble organ pattern, that distinctive, like, pulsing organ sound. Fills out the rhythm, it's like a percussive layer almost. And the guitar is double chop, strumming. You really hear it clear in the intro to Bob Marley's Stir It Up. That became standard then. The focus shifted more onto the overall groove, making it just infectious.
Oh, and a really key thing, the trend of recording a version, an instrumental mix, on the B-side of singles. That became massive for the sound system culture.
Okay, and here's the surprising twist. This early reggae sound, it actually got really popular with the working class skinhead subculture in the UK. Late 60s, early 70s, people even called it skinhead reggae. Just imagine that. Working class British kids connecting with Jamaican music. It shows how music can cross those lines, right? Create these unexpected links. There was even a London-based Caribbean band, the Pyramids. They recorded a Simmer Up and did a whole album with tracks like Skinhead Moonstomp. That's a really powerful point about its appeal. It just connects. So moving into the 70s proper, we see roots reggae really taking hold. This is probably the style most people internationally recognize. Popularized by icons, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, from about 72 into the early 80s. And what's interesting is roots often means the message, the cultural weight, as much as the actual musical style, though it definitely has its own sound.
Oh yeah, the lyrics in roots reggae. They're incredibly powerful. You've got the Rastafari back to Africa message, this idea of colonialism and slavery as Babylon, the belief in Yah, Haile Selassie, but also just recurring themes of poverty, fighting oppression, alongside these really poetic spiritual ideas too. It wasn't just songs, it was like a blueprint for social justice music everywhere. giving a voice to people.
Musically, roots reggae really honed those rhythms we talked about. Drummers got more complex with kick drum patterns, often based around Rocksteady's one drop, that classic reggae beat, snare and kick on the third beat, gives it that lilt. Guitar, piano, keyboard patterns got tighter, more refined, often using simple chord progressions to create this meditative, almost trance-like vibe that fit the lyrics perfectly. And this period really brought the bass guitar right to the front. It became such a defining feature of the whole genre, and we absolutely have to talk about the producers. Groundbreaking guys like King Tubby, Lee Scratch Perry, Prince Jammy. Their heavy use of tape delay, reverb, it became so recognizable, those echoing, spacious, almost psychedelic sounds. King Tubby apparently described it as just like a volcano in your head. Yeah. Vivid.
Wow. Okay, so while roots reggae is hitting big internationally, what else is bubbling up? Mid-70s, you get other distinct styles appearing too, right? Like rockers, that particular root sound, pioneered by the legendary Sly and Robbie rhythm section. Known for being a bit more mechanical, aggressive maybe, lots of syncopated kind of martial drum patterns.
Yeah, and at the same time, you've got Lovers Rock starting up in South London, mid-70s again. That's all about the romantic lyrics, love songs, a very smooth sound, actually quite close to Rocksteady, almost like a continuation. Artists like Janet Kay are sort of the classic example there.
Then there's dub, which is just revolutionary, really, born in the studio.
Yeah.
Pioneered by those same producers, Perry, King Tubby, early on. Dub is all about remixing existing tracks, stripping them right down. Heavy emphasis on the drum and bass, then layering on loads of effects, creating these completely new atmospheric soundscapes out of the original recording.
Exactly. Totally reshaped the music. And then, late 70s to mid-80s, you had rub-a-dub, a specific style often associated with the Roots Radix Band, known for its slow-tempo, really heavy, dominant bass lines. And interestingly, back then, people actually called that dancehall music. Shows how the names change over time, doesn't it?
That's a key point, yeah. The labels evolve. And for anyone who likes a driving rhythm, there's steppa. In reggae, steppa is basically your classic four-on-the-floor disco beat, 44 time. The UK style often uses digital bass lines, more effects, pushing it into a more electronic kind of space.
Right. And if we sort of connect these threads now to the bigger global picture, we have to talk about Jamaican toasting. This style of like rhythmic talking over the music, using catchy phrases, rhymes. It was developed back in the 50s by Jamaican DJs, guys like Count Machuki, U-Roy. They did it to hype up the crowds, playing mostly American R&B records. Now, this style hugely influenced a young Jamaican DJ, Kool Herc. He took that whole approach to New York City in the late 60s, and that directly fed into the birth of hip-hop and rap. Plus, those mixing techniques from dub, also a massive influence on early hip-hop production.
It's an incredible link, isn't it? And dancehall itself, the genre, grew right out of that sound system culture in the late 70s. You had pioneers like Yellow Man. It's all about the DJ, singing and rapping, often in Jamaican patois, over these instrumental tracks called rhythms. These rhythms are like the musical backbone, the foundation that the DJs build their vocals on top of.
Absolutely. And a key part of dancehall was the role of the selectors and operators on the sound systems. They'd actually use the volume controls on the mixer to remix the rhythm live, right there, reacting to the vocalist, creating this really dynamic back-and-forth thing. Musicians then started recording those kinds of dynamic arrangements. That style is still often called the mix. Barrington Levy's big hit from '84, Here I Come, that's an early example on record. You can hear the rhythm kind of pulsing and dropping out under his voice.
Which leads us nicely into ragga, or ragamuffin. This is basically a type of dancehall that really blew up in the 80s. It's built almost entirely on those mixed-style rhythms, but brings in loads more electronic instruments, sampling, media sequencing, often faster tempos, a much more digital sound overall. Think Beanie Man's Who Am I from '98, classic ragga.
And this brings up, the lyrical side again. Dancehall came mainly from urban youth in Jamaica, so the lyrics often reflect their lives, their reality. And sometimes, that included themes some people found too sexual or violent. It got criticized, kind of like early gangster rap was. Actually, in 2009, the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica banned dancehall with explicitly sexual or violent lyrics from the airwaves. It just shows how powerful the music is, how it reflects society, even the challenging parts.
Then, shifting geographically a bit, we get reggaeton, an urban style. They got huge with Latin American youth, starting maybe mid-'80s, really taking off in the early '90s. It has roots in Panama. El General was a key early figure. But it's this amazing global mix, isn't it? West Indian reggae and dancehall blended with Latin American styles like bamba and plena, plus hip-hop, R&B. Truly global now.
And that whole idea of fusion, it just keeps going with reggae fusion. Okay, the term itself was maybe coined late '90s. But artists have been mixing reggae and dancehall with everything since the 70s, really. Hip-hop, R&B, jazz, rock, even drum and bass. You name it. It just shows how incredibly adaptable reggae is. It can slot into almost any musical style.
And one of the latest branches, maybe, is Reggae DM. A really interesting fusion, marrying that deep, heavy reggae bass sound with, the high-energy beats of electronic dance music. Cavins, based out in Miami, often gets credit for coining the term back in '98. He was blending jungle, reggae, live drum, and bass. And then you have acts like Major Lazer pushing that sound even more into the mainstream. It shows how global and diverse this whole family tree has become. What an incredible journey we've covered today, from those, humble Mento roots in Jamaica all the way out to these global genre-mashing spin-offs like reggaeton and reggae EDM. It really hammers home how linked music, culture, and social context are. How sounds change not just on their own, but as part of the human story.
Absolutely. And I hope this deep dive just encourages you, the listener, to really appreciate the whole massive tapestry of reggae, not just as one single thing, but as this living, breathing cultural force that's still evolving, still influencing music all over the world. There's always more to find in those rhythms, in those messages.
So that leaves us with a thought, maybe. Considering just how much reggae has changed and diversified over all these decades, what could the next big evolution look like? Or the next completely unexpected fusion? Where does this incredibly resilient, adaptable music go next?